The first day the girl received a letter for Juliet, Su Yuanxiang was cut off by her. And there was a letter from 50 years ago, which had been dyed yellow by time. But the girl never dreamed that this 50-year-old letter would change her life completely. In Verona, north of Italy, there is an ancient and mysterious legend. If you touch Juliet's image, you can find the true love in your life. Countless tourists came to the door, but in addition to touching Juliet's image, there is a more tempting legend. If you leave an emotional problem on Su Yuanxiang, Juliet will answer by writing back. People are suspicious of this legend. The same is true for the girl Ella. However, by chance, Ella was surprised to find that those letters were collected by a mysterious woman. Under the drive of curiosity, Ella followed the woman through the alleys. Finally, she came to a secluded room and saw a few ladies distributing exquisite letters blindly. It turned out that these letters were not written by Juliet, but by a group of ladies who were called Juliet's secretaries. And they are well divided. Some are good at resolving conflicts between couples. Some are focused on comforting the broken-hearted. There is also an experienced old man. No matter what kind of complex emotional problems he faces, he can give back to his lover without hesitation. Out of curiosity and enthusiasm, Ella decided to join this special team. However, on the first day she just started working, she accidentally found a love letter that had been sealed for 50 years. The letter tells a story full of regret. The American girl Claire fell in love with an Italian young man, but she was unable to make a choice because of her parents' opposition. So she asked Juliet how she should choose. "Please, Juliet, tell me what I should do. My heart is breaking, and I have no one else to turn to." Facing this love letter that has traveled through time and space, the secretaries of Juliet discussed. They thought that the 50-year-old love letter could change everything. The person who wrote the letter may have already found his home. But Ella insisted that this persistent love is still worth being responded to and trusted. The owner of the letter may still be waiting for Juliet's reply when night falls. Ella sits at the table alone. Her pen is light. The space between the words is full of her emotions and thoughts. After writing the letter, she sent it to the girl. However, a few days later, a handsome young man came to her. He claimed to be Claire's grandson. His name is Nick. He asked who wrote the letter that touched his grandma's heart. Ella admitted it calmly and firmly. But Nick didn't thank Ella for this trip. Instead, he said that she was nosy. Nick was worried that if he couldn't find the home of the memory in the end, his grandma's disappointment would be even deeper. Facing Nick's blame, Ella was in a daze. But she knew that all these fates were caused by her. She had to find an answer for this responsibility. So, she followed Nick quietly. Finally, she came to Juliet's old home and met the old Claire. "You might like to meet me." Night falls. The romantic atmosphere fills every corner of the city. Claire holds the love ring. Complex emotions flash in her eyes. She begins to tell the story. The memories that have been polished over the years are like a beautiful painting that unfolds slowly in her heart. The regret of the past is like a heavy burden that has been weighing on her heart. Now, she steps on this city again. She is determined to make up for the long-awaited regret. Claire firmly announced that she would set off tomorrow to find Lawrence, who occupied the place in her heart. Ella was also moved by this persistence. She also wanted to join this love journey, to witness this love that has been more than half a century, and planned to write it into a book. "All right, the journalist. Trying to pry into our private lives, right? Charlie, come on. It's hard to state secrets, is it? I'd love to have you with us." "Really?" "Yes." The next day, the sun was shining. The couple set off for the journey. They first arrived at an old house in the suburbs. An old man walking on the mountain slowly walked out. But Claire took a look and confirmed that this was not the Lawrence she had been missing. Although the feeling of disappointment is inevitable, her determination has not changed at all. Ella is actively searching the internet. Surprisingly, there are 74 Lawrences in this area. But luckily, the Lawrence they were looking for only lives in the countryside. So Ella cleverly narrowed the search area. The three continued their journey. They met a down-and-out Lawrence, but his personality is too mischievous. Then, at the pier, they met another Lawrence who was busy with a fan. It was also not as expected. Then, the couple arrived at a magnificent castle. The owner of the castle, Lawrence, was from a prestigious family. This is very different from the information they knew. "It's such a shame. I think I could have been happier." "Happy? Did your grandson just say happy?" "I said could have been. Let's not get carried away. I have a reputation to uphold." Just like that, under the sunset, the first day's search came to an end. Back to the hotel, to ease the tension between the grandson and Ella, Grandma suggested Nick to share some experiences of doing charity work in a law firm. However, after Ella heard this, she felt very guilty. She never thought Nick would devote himself to upholding justice. What type did you happen to be named for exactly? Well, I was looking towards to be a soft-spoken prick. But now that you mention it, self-satisfied do-gooder works as well. I guess you're a poor judge of character then. But she does deal with facts, Charlie. Nick knew that in Ella's mind, his image might have been completely ruined. So just before leaving, he took the initiative to apologize to Ella for his previous behavior. Forgive me, I know my manners. You know I've been wondering that since I met you. Yes, well, I don't know what it is, but you seem to bring out the very worst in me. Somehow it's my fault. Nonetheless, may I walk you to your room? On the way to send Ella back to her room, Nick sincerely revealed his true feelings. He said that his previous behavior was not out of malice, but out of his unwillingness to let his grandma feel the pain of disappointment. I have a really good feeling about this. You'll see, it's gonna be alright. As the sun sets, a group of people arrived at a quiet nursing home. Claire wore a gun-wrapped net and introduced herself to the old man. But when the old man slowly took off his sunglasses, his eyes did not awaken the memories in Claire's heart. This ruled out a wrong target. Claire's heart was overwhelmed with a sense of disappointment. Ella sensed her emotions clearly. Her tears were still wet. Although the light of hope has not been extinguished, there was still a trace of melancholy on everyone's faces. The moon was as bright as water tonight. Ella entered the room alone. She turned the tip of this journey into the words on the pen and made it into a touching story. And just at that moment, Nick's knocking broke the silence. He warmly invited Ella to dinner. But Ella was already drunk in her own story. She reluctantly rejected Nick's invitation. How's it coming? It's coming okay. Am I in it? Maybe. Why? Can I read just a bit? Are you kidding me? Come on, just a little bit. Absolutely not. So Nick had no choice but to accept this closed door. But he didn't give up. The next morning, Nick found Ella early on and invited her again, hoping to travel with him. Ella knew Nick's deep meaning behind this, but she was attracted by the beautiful scenery of this city. So the two of them walked on the streets of the romantic town together. Nick told Ella about his new life. When he was only 10 years old, his parents died in a car accident. From then on, he and his grandma depended on each other. It was this deep affection they weren't. As the sun set, the night of the young man came. Nick and Ella met at a bar. After drinking, Ella asked Nick, "Do you believe in destiny? Do you?" "Yeah, I think it's destiny that we're here right now." On this beautiful night, the sudden words made Nick's mind go blank. With Claire. In fact, Ella had already fallen in love with Nick. But maybe for some reason, she chose to hide this feeling in her heart. As the mystery deepened, they came to an old house. But no matter how they knocked on the door, no one answered. The neighbor took them to a graveyard and told them that the law firm had long gone. Nick's most terrible scene still happened. He began to blame Ella for not letting his grandma bear this unbearable pain. It's not the ending you want, is it? This isn't just a clever story with a "Stop it, Charlie. It's our life." It's my at least. But Ella was abandoned by her mother, so she was more eager to have a warm light to light up her lonely life. Ella sat in the room haggardly, with a never-before-seen sense of loss all over her body until Grandma walked into the room and comforted her wounded heart with words of comfort. However, Ella's strength and kindness made people feel more pain. In contrast to her own sadness, she cared more about the pain that Claire suffered. "Claire, I'm so sorry. I caused it." "No, poor darling. Every minute has been so special." "Yeah, one of the great joys in life is having one's hair brushed." Under Grandma's loving care, Ella's mood was gradually relieved. She and Nick lay on the grass full of stars and looked up at the vast night sky. Ella said she didn't mind Nick's apology because she, who lost her mother at a young age, always liked to lie on the grass at night in the summer and make countless wishes to the starry sky. And every star carries a different wish. But what she longed for most was to have a happy family forever. The longing for this deep love also aroused resonance in Nick's heart. Therefore, he could better understand Ella's inner expectation and wish. And this kind of heart-to-heart tacit understanding suddenly gave birth to a mysterious atmosphere between the two of them. But after a while, Ella suddenly realized something and left here quickly. and everything was seen by Claire. In order to help the relationship between the two young people, Claire voluntarily gave Ella the passenger seat and there was an awkward atmosphere in the car. However, when the car turned into a vineyard, Claire's eyes suddenly became anxious. She can't wait to see the young man who is in a bad mood when Nick stops the car and attracts her attention. Because he has the aura of a young prison. Under Ella's interrogation, they learned that the young man's grandfather was the prison they had been looking for. At this time, Ella and Nick were very happy, but Claire was a little hesitant. After all, time has passed, and the glory has gone. I've been ridiculous. I've been completely ridiculous. Even when I was 15 years old, I felt wrong. After missing true love for 50 years, they finally met again at this moment. It's just a coincidence that Claire recognized the young man. An unyielding hug solved the regret and sorrow of 50 years. But Ella was a little disappointed. She cried and left here alone. Nick was confused by Ella's action. He immediately got in a car and accidentally witnessed Ella and a man hugging each other. At this moment, Nick finally understood Ella's concerns all the time. It turned out that she had been engaged to someone else. Looking at Nick's distant back, Ella had a complex feeling in her heart. But the fate of the two did not end there. After returning to New York, Ella gave the story to her boss. The boss was curious about the ending of the story, but because of the emotional entanglement, Ella hadn't contacted Nick for a long time, so the ending of the story was still unknown. But Ella finally realized her dream and became a writer. She couldn't wait to share this good news with her fiancé, but the man's reaction was very perfunctory. In fact, the two of them went to live in the same house. It was originally a honeymoon trip for both parties. But after arriving at the destination, the two of them turned into their own journeys. The man left Ella and went to attend his favorite wine auction. When Ella said she might be delayed for a few days because of Claire, the man said it was a perfect match. Recalling all the behaviors of this scumbag, Ella was confused and didn't know where to go. However, the gears of fate were always full of blood. On this day, she received Claire's wedding invitation. There was also a letter from 50 years ago. Looking at this letter from 50 years ago, and looking at a pair of old people in the distance, Ella made a brave decision. She didn't want to spend her life with someone she didn't love. So she broke up with her boyfriend. Although her boyfriend swore to change his mind, it's too late now. Then, Ella set off again for Italy and made an appointment to attend Claire's wedding. When they met again, Ella had removed all her burdens. Her eyes shone with a firm and confident light. However,